Well, when the president does it, that means that it is not illegal.
By definition.
Exactly. Well, when the president does it, that means that it is not illegal.
By definition.
Exactly.
Hey guys, it's Matt. That was, of course, the famous David Frost interview with President Nixon in 1977, roughly 3 years after Nixon's last day in office, after Watergate, where he famously said, if the president does it, then it is not illegal. Or more like Nixon, he said, if the president does it, then it is not illegal. See, they're using that now. It was laid down in 1977, and then they made a movie out of it, Frost Nixon, in 2006. They're using that now with the recent Supreme Court ruling regarding Trump. The sentencing date, which was supposed to be Thursday, was moved back a few days? No, towards the end of September, just before the election, so the Not Nil can incorporate that into the script. I've got to re-record this, guys. I just assume everybody knows exactly what's happening. Many of you have thrown your television out. You don't watch any political news. I need to bring you up to speed. So just inserting this 2 minutes. Okay, the sentencing date for Trump, by the way, if anybody's new, this is all a script. And I'm actually suggesting via the Nixon interviews, it was storyboarded out almost 50 years ago. Maybe. We'll see how crazy that is when this presentation's over. Maybe planned by Albert Pike. Who knows? The sentencing date for Trump, his 33+1 felony counts, was supposed to be, I believe, Thursday, July 11th. And because of a recent Supreme Court ruling that said presidents in official capacity, in their official role, I don't know exactly how it was worded, or I don't remember, cannot be prosecuted or are always held with complete immunity. Maybe they use that word. Held with or have absolute immunity. I think they use the words absolute immunity when conducting their official role as president. Well, that why would you need a Supreme Court ruling on that? It doesn't make any sense. But let's just get back to the script. That now has thrown a new twist on the Trump sentencing. I mean, if who can't see that this is a storyboarded script? It doesn't matter how long ago it was planned. I mean, Not Nilk, if you're listening to me, this is pathetic. And the American people, I mean, if you can't see through this, I mean, you've got to be kidding me. So this is now a new twist, the Supreme Court ruling, which of course would have come up on its own. It has nothing to do with the Trump sentencing, right? And so now the Trump team needs time to regroup, to use the Supreme Court sentencing. Czar, isn't that insane? They need to give new arguments before the judge before sentencing on September 6th, and the sentencing was pushed back to September 18th. It's amazing they didn't make it the 11th. But I guess that would be a giveaway even to the real dummies. Maybe not, probably not though. So first off, the Supreme Court ruling makes no sense. When a president's acting in official capacity as president, the president cannot be held liable or is given absolute immunity. Well, okay. The president is acting inside its official capacity. Why would there be anything that you would need to give immunity on if acting inside official capacity? Doesn't make any sense. Of course, the Supreme Court was sure to point out if a criminal activity takes place, the president can be prosecuted. But then if the president commits an illegal act, then by any degree of common sense, it's not inside official duties. See, here what they're doing is very simple, guys. They simply, this Not Nilk is a worthy adversary, slowly break down the walls or the barriers of understanding with the people, of normalcy. If everything gets blended together enough, then nobody knows anything. Nobody can look to case precedent or look to anything as a standard on how everything should be. The Not Nilk is, if one thing is, it is an absolute expert at chaos, creating entropy, an absolute chaos and entropy demon lord. And it just continuously works to redefine standards and levels of normalcy and definitions. And, they're doing it here. And the one thing I was thinking, though, guys, is I'm not sure regarding the Trump, let's say, storyboarded act of the plays that's playing out. I'm not sure if they know exactly which way they're going to go. See, we always would say, well, the Not No planned every bit of this out 10, 20, 50 years ago. Maybe, and we have the tendency to kind of explain it away like that. But, it's almost like they don't know which way to go here, and they need more time in terms of exactly how to play this out. I think because the tools they have now are so incredible, they can change things up on the fly. They probably had all this storyboarded out. Literally some sort of loose relationship in a storyboard based on what happened with President Nixon, that comic book, and what's happening now with Trump. But maybe they didn't realize the tools they have access to in terms of a real-time gauge on the sentiment of the American people, real-time reading of emails, thumbs up, thumbs down. And they always want to play their scripts out for maximum energy harvesting, maximum loosh, maximum chaos, maximum one family member hating another family member. So they probably, of course, had it already laid down as to how this Trump thing would play out. But in terms of what they can maybe get away with, let's just say, again, Bill's poster where they're meeting in back rooms, the demon creatures meeting in back rooms. We call them senators here in the UK. You call them MPs, but in the form, per Bill's poster, in the form of a monkey, with the Baphomet floating up as the master of ceremonies, that say we might be able to get away with much more here. We have AI tools now that give us everybody the sentiment of this country and that country in real time. Let's throw a little bit of a curveball. Let's postpone the Trump sentencing, and let's do the convention, and then the sentencing will be right before the election. And I think if we just hold back and we continue to collect data and feed it in to our demonic AI, we might be able to get so much more energy and chaos out of this situation than we planned for before. Maybe they don't even know themselves exactly how they're gonna play it. Either way, if somebody's stumbling upon this video or somebody's overhearing you, the embarrassment of somebody overhearing you listening to me, so you say, this person you're listening is implying that it's all planned out. And then you could turn around to them and say, duh, yeah, what'd you think it was? But it's all planned out, but the exact tactics, the exact, like somebody that wrote Dallas, who shot J.R. Ewing, maybe they didn't know exactly how they were going to present that last episode until they did focus groups with the fans, and then they changed it up a little bit right before they recorded that episode. Like, maybe that seems to be what's happening here, but who cares? Either way, it's all a storyboard. And if the president does it, that means it is not illegal. I mean, we didn't even hear much about that. I'm over 50. I know very little about these David Frost interview. I heard of the movie Frost-Nixon. But here it comes back again. Nixon floating it out there and being recycled back now. If the president decides to do it, that means it is not illegal. I mean, of course, people back then listening to that would have already seen Nixon as a criminal, as somebody that doesn't, the people on their couch that believe everything is real and legitimate. They would see Nixon as somebody that has no regard for the law, is confused, doesn't understand that the president is subject to the law, and they would have just written it off. He's a crazy man. He's out of office. He was impeached, but that means just the House of Representatives says you're out. Impeachment is just the House. It's not the Senate, the second part that officially gets a president out of office. Of course, it's all, whenever anything like that happens to Bill Clinton or anyone else, it's Matt, stop saying it's not legitimate all the time. We know your position on it. Okay. So Bill Clinton was impeached, but that just means the House of Representatives, not the Senate. In the case of Nixon, it wasn't the Senate. I think he just stepped down and resigned, but he was still impeached. Whatever. Like, who cares, right? I don't think that the main reason for me making this video is incredibly, like, they have the basic storyboard, but they're saying, there's so many ways they can play this based on the AI, the amount of information they have access to. Think of what they have access to now via the 1970s or 60s or 50s or 40s. Just, I mean, I guess this Not Milk group of sequential incarnations, or what are they, per the Dungeons and Dragons video yesterday, they come from there was the positive material plane and the negative material plane. They come from the land of shadows, the negative material plane. They always had their knuckle bones and their weird occult and let's just say dark spells to deal with. Remember the old crone, the woman, the old witch in Robin Hood with Kevin Costner? She had, I don't know why I call it the knuckle bones. She had, it wasn't the tea leaves either. She had these bones or something. And then she screamed before the sheriff of Nottingham. Rah! Remember I'm a scared Zara. They have that, some old witch. But see, these AI tools are just, it's like it's nothing they've ever had before. And they're getting hundreds of millions of terabit quats, I just made that up, of data every I was going to say every day, but maybe every second. So it's allowing them, maybe at the last second, to change up the scripts a bit. And that's the purpose of me making this video. I just got the sense that they maybe a few weeks ago didn't know they were going to do this. And somebody ran into the room and said, let's hold up the sentencing, because boy, if this works out the way we think, we could really create a constitutional crisis on those poor devils. We really could get family members hating other family members, and husbands breaking up with or divorcing wives. And we already do that millions a year, but we could actually increase it by millions, and we could get that loosh. I mean, these creeps, I mean, what are we dealing with here? It is absolutely incredible. I guess in the old days of Not Milk, they had to, plot out all the different possible scenarios and use their best dark statisticians to estimate which scenarios have the best possibility of playing out. And when they really were stuck, maybe they did storyboard competitions. Like, you ever see that? If you're over age 40, you know what I mean? Like, you'd be reading a magazine or your favorite comic book and say, a story competition, or write an essay competition. Submit your essay here, and the winner gets 2 tickets to the World Wrestling Federation Super Slam, or whatever it may be. I think the Not Milk, when it really ran out of ideas, say in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, maybe they floated an essay competition where the regular people could help them plan out. Write about this. I mean, I don't think so, but you know what I mean? They had just, say, regular means at their disposal. Now, with the AI and the supercomputers and the chat GPTs, you remember that there's a scene in one of the Marvel movies, Avengers movies, before they got really, really bad, about Thanos was the last time Marvel wasn't absolutely horrible. Doctor Strange was sitting in a corner making all these weird movements. He was playing out all these different scenarios as to how, or the possibility they could defeat Thanos, and he came out of his trance and said something like, out of the 7 million scenarios I just played out, we succeed in how many? 1. Something like that. So he played out, the point is, Doctor Strange played out 7 or 10 million scenarios in a matter of minutes. The AI supercomputers, whatever they can have access to, in terms of how should they give Trump jail time, where should he go to jail, should they give him probation, how will that affect the election, it's playing out potentially millions of scenarios a second, and adjusting the scenarios based on its analysis of X or tweets, thumbs up, thumbs down, comments under YouTube videos, constantly adjusting the scenarios. So I think if they call for a Trump it is possible, of course, you must keep on the table, of course, that when they put into the script the original Trump sentencing date of July 11th, that they knew that beforehand that it would be postponed. Of course, it's possible. I'm just throwing it out, and I don't think they're perfect. Okay, these tools, the analysis of millions of pieces of online data, millions of thumbs up, thumbs down analysis a second. I think it's pretty hard to get all the projections right outside of a few weeks or a month. And I think these creeps would probably say, no, we don't have to. In the old days we had to ask Albert Pike to storyboard everything. So we put out his World War I, World War II, and we had to have it planned out, and then we had to craft reality or influence the great unwashed and the proletariat to help us play out our scripts. Now, they probably would say, we only need to operate 10 days out because, based on the information they collect up, the terabyte quad bytes a second, then they can adjust on the fly. And they'll get to a point with the data collection that they only have to operate a few days out before they change things up. And then, Matt, I mean, you're missing you're kind of forgetting one thing. Once everybody steps into the digital environment and they don't realize they stepped into a digital environment, which we probably already have. I can hear you yelling at me. But once they step into the digital environment and Horcrux off their own souls, then they don't have to plan at all anymore. People are stuck inside or trapped inside the digital environment, or Johnny Depp's Transcendence. And they put the VR headset on permanently, and then they don't know they're wearing the VR headset. It's just, and then then of course the next layer after that is they put you in a pod and they flood the pod with some sort of gelatin, and then you literally live out Neo in the Matrix. Matt, we're already there. I don't think so. I don't think so. This is a Matrix of sorts, but I'm more with, like Tony, of our own doing. We're not trapped. We can get out. When higher self's ready, we can get out. We're not. They want to make a trapped by our own doing when we do enough work. They want, of course, create it or flip the script where it's a Matrix by their doing or trapped by their own doing, and they'll continue to work for that probably. I don't know. The little minions here that the dark minions from we learned yesterday in the Dungeons and Dragons video from the dark material plane. They're rewarded for being assholes here. They're put into this reality to play a script, to play out their role as assholes, and it's the opposite of Triple X and the diner scene. They've been quite successful. They've been a worthy adversary. You got to give them credit, guys. I mean, you got to not give them credit. Let's adjust that spellcraft of English language. Just say you have to respect the dark aptitude of what they've been able to accomplish. Not like what Triple X said in the Triple X said to Samuel L. Jackson about the diner and how he saw through everything. And he said, by the way, the performances were terrible. You can't say the performances actually of the Not Milk Minions and people like Elon and Lone Scum and those performances are terrible because they don't have to be good anymore in terms of what it's laid down on the people, in terms of how it's put them smack in the middle of the ship of fools and what they believe. The performance has not been terrible. I don't want to clap. It's been very impressive. What this, again, it's a worthy adversary. I respect it. Again, that's to me this is kind of the way this whole reality system intentionally was laid down this way. If it was just laying around under cabbage palms and lube, I don't think we'd get anything out of it. So hopefully we get to a point where we see through everything. So it's so pathetically obvious, everything to us, that we just break the game kind of and just get out of here. Where my other friend Tony, he believes it. Most people are, I'm sure my certain relatives right now are reading the newspaper on it's not really a rainy morning. We had our first rainy day, by the way, here outside Philadelphia, and like we've had little cloudbursts and stuff of rain. It hasn't been that dry. It's been dry. A lot of the grass is browning, but we had our first rainy day yesterday without any rain. It was just, we literally had like 1/32, little bit, just little mistings on and off. And I complained to someone the other day. I said, when was the last time you remember we had a rainy day? For those out west, this happens all the time in the east. And it'd been like, well, it's been like 2.5, 3 months. Well, we had one yesterday, but we didn't have any rain. So whatever. Matt, what does that have to do with anything? Nothing. So they plan out everything in the past a long, long time in advance. But I don't think they need to do that anymore. I don't think they need to plan out anything more than a few weeks or a few months in advance, because if they planned it out further, they would lose their ability and their tools to adjust up what they're going to do on the fly. So again, Vin Diesel, their performances were terrible. The performances are getting worse, but the whole the entire plot and plan of how it's put everybody or the masses smack in the middle of the ship of fools, where they're conditioned to believe it, that has been masterful. And I guess I used to fight with the truthers that used to little comments to me 6, 7, 8 years ago, and I always thought it was an excuse, and I always pushed back on it. They would say, Matt, that Ribby, Bobby, Ribby, that performance, or Chris, who he drives for a funeral home, he drives the hearse for a funeral home. Those performances are so bad. We used to, of course, point at them and in a way laugh at them. In a way, cry about them, that our friends and family couldn't see through it. But the first grade truthers would say, Matt, they don't have to. They know they don't. Those performances are so bad because the not milk is generally, they would say, is lazy. They don't have to do anything anymore. I push back and say, no, it's not just they're lazy and they can't get a catastrophe thespian that could do a better job. And it's not just that. Part of it, and I think back then I was right, that it's so bad it's mistakes on purpose. Much of what it puts forth or put forth wanted to be noticed by us, wanted to be noticed. It wanted to be noticed by us or by a certain type of entity or spiritual entity or individual. It laid down its breadcrumbs, which was mistakes on purpose, which was bad catastrophic thespian performances for us, to potentially identify us, to identify the type of entity or real spiritual beings that have the ability or capacity to see through all this bullshit. Maybe, I don't know, 7, 8 years ago, I started to make videos saying, and I was surprised how quickly a lot of the old guard was agreeing with me on this. I started to make videos saying, these aren't bad performances. This is on purpose, guys. These are mistakes on purpose. The inflated tire, the horrible Chris who drives for the funeral home, the hearse, and the very believable relationship, by the way, between him and Allison. Very, very believable. And Robbie, Ribby. I thought, this is on purpose. This is what we notice, but then we take it to our best friend, and they, of course, they don't. And then, now they know, they know who we are. But, so what? I mean, I guess that with Steve Quayle tried, these names pop up from the past. I guess he tried to scare all of us with his they're going to put you ever hear his videos, and some of the videos they're going to put a sticker on your mailbox depending on what color the sticker is. Depends on where the Walmart FEMA camp you'll be going to, what sort of Walmart under what sort of 1984 type prison guards. All the Walmarts were going to then the endless plastic coffins. We all went through the old guard. If you've been doing this more than 10 years, you went through all those bullshit. Is Dabu 7 still making videos, or Dabu 77? I mean, these names are just flooding back to me. Not that these people are in on it. Most of the truth community as it exists today is used by Not Milk to facilitate things or to lay down breadcrumbs. They're not, they're not trying to screw anybody. They're not trying to distract. They're not trying or knowingly working for Not Milk, but they're doing, most of the truth community is doing exactly what Not Milk wants, putting forth a bunch of bullshit. Or all fear channels do exactly what Not Milk wants, and it's just funny, the stuff that that we went through, the old guard went through. But 7, 8 years ago, I started to make videos. This is all on purpose. But that now that they have identified, oh Matt, you said earlier they've identified us. Should we be concerned? No, we're not concerned. I mean, they've known for 5, 6 years. Everybody that has the ability to see through the trick, they know exactly who we are, who you are. That's why did I ever hide my face or my name or never hid anything about who I was. Or, I mean, why do these people hide? Okay, guys, let me wrap up this first segment on Trump and we'll have a few more laughs, maybe make a few more predictions or float some scenarios as to what they might try to pull off with this script. But I just want to say it now for those that want to hang around for 5 or 10 minutes on the back end. I just found out that the Apple TV show Severance, the season 2, is coming out January of 25, and I might have to get Apple TV for this. I used to watch it at Pam's, but there's no TV show I've looked forward to. And guys, if you're wondering, I'm not just here to talk about a TV show. The weird dark truth or whatever's being presented in Severance is very strange. Where I've talked in 2 videos about, is our relationship with the spiritual side of us that's not here, or what some say oversoul or higher self, is it this loving, nurturing thing, or is there any merit to what Apple TV's Severance is basically presenting, that the entity outside the work, which is this earth realm, I think as it's being presented in Severance, is it more of a user and an abuser? And again, it's a real dark topic, but it's something that's fascinating. I like how Severance presents it. Of course, 99% of people that watch the show, they're not gonna start having conversations about what a presentation that might be made between higher self or spiritual aspect of us that's at least while we're in the body stuck here now, versus an aspect of us that's outside of the work, or the Lumen Corporation, etc. So it's not just a TV show. All right, let me. Sorry that didn't come out right. But back to Trump, just to wrap this up. So he, because of the Supreme Court new ruling, which makes no sense, saying, just some first grader could come up with, in the president's official capacity and acting in official capacity, as it's defined in the Constitution, then the president is held judgment proof, or held with absolute immunity. Well, then isn't that the definition of acting in official capacity? I mean, what did you need the Supreme Court for to do that? You could have just sent it into a first grade class. Of course, it's needed as a key element, because the dummies and the masses won't realize what's going on here. They'll hear things like presidents have a new degree of immunity, or something else they can fall back on to take themselves off the hook, if they could make the argument they were acting in official capacity. So it's just one more way. All that the not cares is the general message that gets into the conscious and the subconscious, or even unconscious minds of those in the ship of fools. This is the general takeaway. Its specifics, it doesn't matter. The specifics, generally, when you look at them closely, don't make any sense in almost anything. Nobody will look at the specifics. They'll just know that, the president seems to have one more thing to fall back on, so he can do or she can do whatever he wants. It's almost like, I hear you yelling at me. It's a very gradual incrementalism step towards 1984 dictatorship, and just declaring martial law, and the president can do whatever they want as long as they can argue it's within official capacity. Sure, it is in a way. It's just one more step towards being as Nixon started. And I'm sure we could look at presidential history before that. Presidents in the past, they laid down little documented cases, parts of history where they operated outside the law, got away with it, and they wanted everybody to get away with it. So this line between authority and the laws that apply to the people and the laws that apply to those in power are different, are not the same, and they take incremental steps, towards that. So Trump's group makes new arguments to the judge based on the Supreme Court ruling. Well, the judge, if anything were real, which of course it's not, the judge would say, "I'm not hearing any new arguments. This has nothing to do." The Supreme Court, you just were 33 plus 1 counts felony. That has nothing to do with the Supreme Court ruling. Has nothing. If it were real, it has nothing to do with your case here, Trump. You acted illegally in felony fashion. You're gonna argue that was somehow inside of your presidential well, I guess that's the point. They will argue it's inside presidential official capacity. I'm Matt. You're certainly not prepared to give this presentation before the judge. My language on this is breaking down, but you generally know what I'm talking about. Yeah, I'm not. I took one law class at Penn State, and then it was just endless drudgery, and it's just everything overly complicated with its legalese, and it just drove me crazy because of the law is the opposite of common sense. The legal law books and what happens in a court, it's all the opposite of common sense, and everything I do has to be about common sense, and boy, I hated that class. Anyway, I could probably make a good, I'd like to make I always thought I could make a good presentation in front of a jury, but in terms of what it takes to be, of course, like knowing what I know now, of course I would never want to make my employment inside of a courtroom. We understand what that's all about. But in the past, I always thought it would be fun to make that final closing to a jury, and to make I like to argue. I like to present arguments, as you probably know. But all the bullshit and all the what did my cousin Vinny even said? Vinny said it took him 6 times to pass the bar. And the guy, Ralph Macchio's friend, is like, "You passed it on the second time, right?" "Nope." You passed it on the bar on the third time? He's considering Vinny for his legal representation in the Alabama murder case. Matt, we've seen my cousin Vinny. We know that's where. By the way, that's where that came. I keep saying all the time. You can say it. They know. I took that from my cousin Vinny. There's no original thoughts here whatsoever. Everything I say is from a movie or a TV show. There is nothing original that has ever come out of my mouth that wasn't taken from a TV show, even what I'm saying right now. So the arguments on September 6th, then the sentencing will be September 18th, just weeks before the election. Everybody in this country, Jack Nicholson swapping the money for the chips in this country. Here's how we do things. In this country, everybody should have walked away from politics. Basically, when Nixon said what he said when the president does it, then it is not illegal. Maybe 200 million people should have said, "I've had him. That's it. I'm done. I'm done." Just like George after he told the joke in Seinfeld. That's just not possible. There's no. This sort of man, whatever this is, could never have been elected in the first place. Look at this guy. And then Carter, if anybody was unsure, then Carter came. It's just one degenerate after another. Bill Clinton, "Did you inhale, sir?" "Oh, I would if I could." I mean, they're just bumbling fools. And even Obama fooled about half the country that he was some brilliant thinker. I mean, Obama, if you could see Obama objectively and weren't in love with him, he, outside of his teleprompter presentation, he was not a smart man at all. He was very average. He was a stumbler and a stutterer outside of his teleprompter. Whenever he didn't have the teleprompter, he was horrible. Oh, he gave a relatively reasonable speech in front of a teleprompter because of all the delinquents you could compare him to. I guess Ronald Reagan was relatively polished until he went senile in his second term. But everybody should have just, at the Nixon moment, at the Bill Clinton moment, at whatever moment, the Jimmy Carter moment, when they said he was attacked on a lake, he was attacked by a rabbit. There was a rabbit that came across a lake walking on the water, like some form of rabbit Jesus or something. There's hundreds and hundreds of moments where anybody normal in this world, and Matt, all those things happened. You believed it. I was a young man, a young man in my 20s and early 30s. Different priorities. I would say, let me change it. Anybody over age 40 should have a clue. Where 100 things have happened where they should have. I've had enough. I'm done with this. Just got up and. Don't you want to talk to me about politics or who? No, I'm done. I'm just. Roughly 200 million to 250 million people in this country should be completely done. But most believe it, and we're just a tiny little minority of one of those people. So anyway, guys, what are they going to do? Well, I don't know. I didn't really prepare a prediction before making this video. I don't know. I'll come back with a prediction. The prediction is, will he have any jail time at all? And based on what anybody over age 40 remembers being told in school or whatever about a felony charge, we've always, it comes with mandatory jail time. That's the point of differentiating between a misdemeanor and a felony. You take the judge leeway out of it. But just the not uncle is always rewriting reality. Reality itself is just being blurred constantly. Now people on the street believe that somebody can actually have 34 felony accounts and there could be a probation. Oh, that is not the world. That was not possible in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. The felony, again, carried mandatory things. That's why it's called a felony. That's the point of that's the reason for the differentiation and the segmentation. So I'm not prepared right now, but I will say this, guys, before I talk about Severance real quick. I will say this. They right now they're so quote dying to put at least a few days of jail or a few weeks of jail going into the election. They're just dying to do it. I can sense it, and they don't know if they can get away with it. They need Trump, in my opinion, as the president. Okay, he will be president. That is clear. Oh, they'll do a constitutional crisis, and they won't know the next day, and after the election, it'll be drawn out, and there'll be legal claims against him, and they'll drag this one out a while, if not days, if not weeks, to try to create a constitutional crisis, probably. But they're dying to put him in jail as part of the script, and just saying, will that the votes? I don't, let's just say pause. Are they? No, they're not counted. I mean, the result will be whatever they want, no matter who votes for what. But they need it to be the result that's presented. They need it to be believable, and they know that the level of believability to the idiots on the ship of fools in the river of insanity is very low. But they still need it to be believable. And right now they're putting every scenario through their AI. How much jail time could we, put Trump through, or in terms of whatever he would just be whisked off in the night to Trump Tower and have his caviar and everything. They'd say he was in jail. How much can we get away with this and still people will believe that Trump was elected president? But see, the more they make Biden into just a blah 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 blah, and the more they make him into that, then you could basically give Trump his first term. He's going to jail as of September 18th. He's not going to get out for 2 years. He will have to conduct the Oval Office business from the Andy Dufresne jail cell. The people could potentially accept that as president, knowing he's going to have to do at least a certain amount of time in jail for the opening days of his presidency. They're considering that, I assure you. If they make Biden into a situation that's just unvotable unforvotable, you know what I mean, unelectable, unvotable for, if they make him so bad, then it doesn't matter. The people say, well, I understand why Trump was doing his first 6 months as president behind bars, because he was actually a better option than you want a guy with his finger on the button. This is what they would say. That's just like slumping over in a chair. I mean, they would say, well, I understand. We have a president who's a felony. At least they're trying to. He has permission to. I mean, remember when they tossed the cells, Andy Dufresne, and the Captain Hadley said, "There's some contraband here. It's not worth getting a stick or whatever." And then Warden Norton said, "I can't say I approve of this." And he had the poster of, was it Rita Hayworth? What did Morgan Freeman say? I can get her, Andy. I don't have her down the front of my pants right now, but I can get her. They'll decorate, like just as Andy decorated the inside of his cell, they'll do, Donald Trump's will be the Oval Office. Maybe they'll be able to bring the real Resolute desk where little JFK Jr. played at the feet of John F. Kennedy. The Resolute desk, they'll bring that into the jail cell. And they'll make it look as much like the Oval Office, as much at least as the prison will allow. And the old guard's like, as crazy as this sounds, not that they would decorate the jail cell probably to look like the Oval Office, but this is possible. He could be in jail. the first few days of his presidency. So they're gauging with the AI what they can get away with. It's the purpose of pushing this off, in my opinion. Anyway, Severance, real quick, guys. For those that haven't seen it, it's just I don't know. It's amazing. Apple TV Severance. The premise, 1 minute or less. You can get a procedure where you go into work for this corporation called the Lumen Corporation, and nobody likes going to work, right? So the part of you that's at work completely doesn't know the part of you that's outside of work. So the person that agrees to the severance procedure, the chip in the brain, they are very selfish because the aspect of them, they're doing it to themselves, but they're not consciously aware of being at work. So let me back up. This is a better way of putting it. When they open the door, they drive up to the giant corporation, thousands of cars in the parking lot, whatever. When they open the door and walk into work, the chip flips, and then Matt, or you listening to this, the Matt that's here has no recollection of being at work. It's like being asleep. The next thing they know is they wake up the moment they're stepping out of work. So that aspect of consciousness is never at work. And inside work is there's no windows. It's sterile. It's horrible. It's authoritarian. Now, what's really terrifying is the aspect of Matt that it's basically like splits the brain into two personalities. The aspect that's at work is always at work. It's like a perpetual hell. It's just fascinating to me. And there's actually, what's so fascinating, there's parallels between basically the reality we're potentially living out now. I'm not going to make this into a huge severance video. I just want to give you a little background. So the other aspect of Matt, as soon as the person steps into work, that aspect wakes up. Oh, well, all they know is work. Well, they have relationships at work. They know where the lunchroom is, and it's brutal, and they can punish you in a break room where they I don't know, they hook you up to electrodes. It's pretty brutal, the work environment. But what's so hellish is that work persona. Okay, it's 5 o'clock now. I'm gonna leave work. Give the consciousness back to the other aspect of me. That person, that aspect of consciousness that's been split off. The moment they step out of work, from their perspective, that within an instant they're stepping right back in. Because they're not. It's more than being asleep. They have no recollection of the outside world. So the hell is, as soon as you step down across, you're immediately stepping back in to work a full day again. You're always at work. It's one of the most hellish scenarios that's ever been presented, other than physical torture and having, being drawn and quartered, and just from a psychological. Mental perspective, one of the most horrifying things I've ever seen. It's so disturbing to me at the root level or the cellular level. I mean, just everything. I've watched Severance, having to drive down to Pam's to see it twice now. Matt, you're here to see Severance again? Yeah, let me just sit in the corner and watch Apple TV. So, but see, how could they keep working? Because they're mentally, they feel they step back in, they're refreshed because there was sleep, the entity that's them that they don't know was sleeping, and they or ate well, and they feel full, and but they're right back at work, and they don't do very much there. It's very strange what they do, but what's real fascinating about it is that there's an adversarial relationship develops, like between between Matt and Matt, or the aspect that's in work, and the part that goes into work starts to try to become its own and break free and sabotage. So the woman, Helly, will scratch herself. So the other entity leaves work, and they're about to go they immediately wake up when they step out of the office, and there's, I forget all the details, but scratches, or she's harmed herself, or there's, and basically the threat is, if you don't get us out of here, this situation, I'm going to do more to harm the body. And it's just, I don't know what season 2 is going to deliver. But again, sorry guys if I've been too long-winded about this. What if I better tell you why I'm so fascinated with this regarding how it relates to where we are here. So we've always been told here, in every way we've talked about, if you have any theories about the higher self or what Tony's presented to me and how I present it. The aspect of us that's not here. It's put a little aspect of itself into Earth to play this game out, simultaneous incarnations in physical reality systems or Dungeons and Dragons prime material planes, playing out all for behalf of this loving, caring higher self. And the interesting thing about the Severance videos I made, I thought, guys, was like, maybe it's not. How do you know it's loving and caring? Maybe it's like, well, to get here, the higher self, which is you, but in Severance, it's you too. It's the same people. It's like, well, I've got to do all this to get here. And maybe the higher self says, I'm going to cheat, basically. I'm going to put little aspects of myself. It's almost like a dream. You could create dream scenarios, put aspects of yourself in dream scenarios, but you set the conditions of the dream. And into the hellish, many times, there's, I don't like to just focus on the negative here, guys. There's a lot of beautiful things here. This is a convergence of heaven and hell, this place. It will always be a convergence. The heaven and hell exist simultaneously. It's not all bad, but in terms of the bad, it's like, the higher self just loves you. Oh, my higher self loves me, it would never. No, maybe it put you in there to do the work, where it's just sitting up with its feet up, having a pina colada, and it. You're at Lumen Corporation here in this earth all the time. Although obviously the way Lumen is presented is there is no heaven aspect of the Lumen Corporation, where there's a lot of heaven here on earth. It's up to you to see that and to focus on it, not have focus continuously on the hell. It's a convergence of both. And anyway, I guess that's it, guys. That's a little more long-winded than I expected. I'm finishing up the movie The Prestige. I was just so tired, couldn't quite stay up past 11 last night. What you got? What toppings you got, old man? The Prestige with Hugh Jackman and whoever the Batman was, Christian Bale, I guess. But the Tesla. Here's Nikola Tesla coming into it again, played by David Bowie. And I just kind of thought, it's time to talk about Tesla and this fairy tale, this script of Nikola Tesla. The reasons why the Not Milk is using the fairy tale of Nikola Tesla. And just the fact that Elon Musk has adopted it. That by itself, there can be no trust in the Nikola Tesla story, but it fits in with the Prestige. It's a pretty interesting movie. But I thought I have to talk about this Nikola Tesla cartoon character that the Not Milk uses. Don't buy very much of the story, guys. I don't. Why the Not Milk uses the Tesla, what it gets out of the whole Nikola Tesla legend and lore. Even when was it Saint Savin Church that we looked at 6 or 7 years ago, burned with that gigantic wall of fire coming in New York City, coming out of the rose window in an unnatural way. And there's right alongside, I guess was it Serbian or Croatian Catholic, or not Catholic, a Christian church. The Nikola Tesla bust is right there next to the church. And I'm sorry. I know there's still people in our truth community that hold on that this is some... Matt, was kept down. He was working for us. No. Okay. Sorry. Maybe initially, but no. The whole story is presented as a Not Milk hijack. I'll probably do it tomorrow at freevoice.io. Thanks, guys.